A lot of athletes and martial artists gain their joint strength as a byproduct to practicing movement. Even if you're not an athlete, you can do the same. The thing that arguably helped my knee strength the most is practicing natural movements that expose my knees to uncommon positions. Here's 5 movements that help take my knees from fragile to doing this type of thing. We're also giving away 2 of these shirts, directions how to enter in the pinned comment below. Quadruped Squat. This is a squat with our torso horizontal to the ground with our hands taking some weight. This is a perfect entry point for anyone who has trouble fully bending their knees. Begin on hands and knees. Lift the knees from the floor, then rock the hips back to sit close to the heels. Rock back and forth and feel the weight transfer from shoulders to legs. You can explore different widths with your feet and notice the big stretch that is put through the toes. This is very important for the health of ankles and knees. Once you feel comfortable, let's perform the quadruped squat kick through. Sit back into your squat, then lift one hand and drive the opposing leg forward and through the body. Reverse the motion and come back to your squat position. So now we add some balance and coordination while getting the knees this deep bend stimulus. While we learn these movements, I want to encourage you to explore and see what flows well for your body. These aren't movements where there's a strict right or wrong. See what feels beneficial for your body. Fisherman squat switch. In my opinion, these should be a prerequisite to doing any loaded squats. Martial artists across the globe use this type of movement in daily warm-ups and conditioning. That's because it lubricates the lower body and helps maintain mobility. Start in a seated position and pull one heel towards your hips. Use your hand to shift your weight forward. You decide how much weight you want to put into your legs, but when you're comfortable, push the squatted knee forward over the toe. Now reverse the motion and switch to the other side. You can start to use less and less hand assistance to control the movement with your lower body. Now this one is great to practice in grass or on another soft surface. Working towards doing it on a hard surface can be a goal for down the line. And these double as hip mobility as well. You'll feel your hip be stretched outward and back into extension as you push forward. And you can always add some weight to do these for an extra challenge. But the utility of this movement is to move from the ground to your feet quickly. I like to flow this directly into an 8 hop to guide myself to my feet. As you shift your weight forward, try transferring the weight into your hands to then get yourself into a low squat-like position. Now reverse that motion back, which is easier said than done. 90-90 squat transition. This movement is great because it gets the knees handling rotational forces. At some point, your knees will encounter side-to-side movement. Let's be prepared for it. We can start with the basic seated 90-90 transition, moving your knees from one side of your body to the other. Now lift the hips to support yourself on the hands and do the same thing. The last step is to shift our weight forward and get the torso more upright to now transition through a squat. Use your hands to guide you through the movement nice and slow. Ultimately, you can work towards lowering yourself down with no hands. And raising yourself back up to the squat with no hands is quite a challenge, but it can be done. Now, this is actually quite a functional movement and one that you might observe people using when maneuvering low to the ground and then coming back up to standing. If these movements are looking motivating for you to try out, but you want a little bit extra guidance, then check out our program Flexibility Flow. We use a lot of these natural animal style movements combined with mobility work, and we do it in follow along fashion. So you can just click play and do the movements right with us. We start nice and easy at a beginner level, and then we progress over the course of 16 weeks. And if you want to get a sample of what it's like, then you can do our free trial. First link in description. Dragon squat rotation. Now we get to something pretty juicy. Dragon squat rotation asks me to handle my full body weight in a low squat position while spinning and pivoting. A lot of us saw Simone Biles doing this crazy one-leg spin in the Olympics recently. This movement is more like the layman's way of gaining some of that foundational 360-degree strength in the knee. Wrap one leg behind you and set the foot down. Squat yourself down low. Now we've stored some potential energy by crossing our legs that can be released by untwisting the legs. I like to cue the arms to rotate away from my squatted leg, and this will pivot my body to come back into a regular squat position. In the beginning, just get used to the dragon squat and then work on untwisting your body with the hips higher. In the full expression, you keep the hips low, untwist, and then ride that momentum. And this momentum will bring you into another movement quite seamlessly. Duck walk. Duck walk allows us to work on moving with the knees fully bent. This is a top expression of knee strength. It's simple, but not easy at all. Most martial artists use the duck walk to condition the knees and hips to be functionally strong, but most people go too intense too quickly. I like to teach people that I coach to begin with the two-step method. We're gonna move one leg forward into a lunge, and then we're gonna push onto the toes. That's step one. We then bring that other leg forward, just like taking a step, transfer weight into it, then push on the toes. That's step two. Now we use our hands to gracefully pivot our torso back to where we came from, stand up, and walk back to the start. Now you can use your hands down for assistance the whole time as well. Repeat with alternating which leg goes first. Now this gets us used to handling our body weight down low to the ground with a low amount of volume. And eventually, you can start adding steps. The more you push the knee forward, the more force you'll put there and the more challenging. If you keep things more compact, like moving from a squat, it will be slightly easier. Now this is another fun one to do in the grass, and you can challenge yourself to get really long between your legs. The more you make this like a stride, the more you'll be stretching that hip flexor on the back leg as well. So these movements give you this sport-like quality while also being pretty low impact. With most of these, you can self-regulate by putting more weight into the hands when needed, and listen to your body. If something feels just too heavy for the knees at that point in time, then back off. One of the things that I love about natural animal style movements is linking movements together. It becomes sort of like a dance, especially for us that grew up being kind of embarrassed to dance. So let's go to a sequence here where I put all 5 of these movements together. Now, the great thing is that the stronger your knees become, the more fluid your movement becomes, and vice versa. Of course, you can, and probably should, combine these with more traditional strength training and prehab movements. How many of these can you already do? What's the most challenging movement? Let me know below.